had listened to these works closely, and I was probably happy to bring music that I remembered fondly but vaguely, great works that remained still somewhat unfamiliar. Music that you have lived with for a long time becomes cluttered with memory and association. For this particular journey, I wanted to pack light. Pound for pound, Bach is also good traveling music. 1 or 2 CDs contain more to occupy the mind than hours of lesser stuff, and it is more emotionally efficient than any other music, with no filler or extraneous matter. For some reason I can't explain, Bach is suited to all my moods, no matter where I am, no matter what mode of life I find myself in, work or play, thriving, surviving, or wallowing in lassitude. His music delights me on the beach as much as it sustains me in a gray desert landscape at the end of November. I could think of 100 reasons why, while I was there, I wouldn't want to play Beethoven, Brahms, or Wagner. But I couldn't imagine a single reason why I would resist Bach. When I arrived, my parents' house was quiet, and everyone walked on tiptoes and spoke in whispers. The only noise came from the television in my mother's room, always on, the flickering light clearly a consolation through the night as she passed in and out of consciousness. When she was awake, I would sit with her, but much of the time she was lost to the morphine. I never listened to music while I was with her, afraid that I might miss some marker of pain or signpost of her progress toward death. I tried to tune out the television, droning in the background, and listen to her breathing. "Stertorous," said one of the hospice nurses brightly, as if pointing out a rare flower on a walk through the forest. Reflected on the wall above my mother's head, the inanity of the nightly news, the animated weatherman, the frantic banter of the pretty anchorwomen parsing murder, traffic, and parades, was distilled to a dance of blue forms and abstractions. When I looked directly into the wide, flat screen only a few feet away, into this portal to a world that seemed infinitely remote and meaningless, I began to feel untethered from reality. During the final days, as my mother slid from terrified lucidity into confusion and finally silence, Bach was the only music I could listen to, the only music that didn't seem trivial, insipid, or irrelevant to life. It did a strange, spatial sort of work, defining an interior world apart from the world of chatter and noise, creating a space in which I could separate myself from intense feelings about my mother and watch the unfolding of her death without the distraction of what we oddly call the real world. It kept banal things at bay, while bringing profound things close enough to be felt without being engulfed by their dread darkness. When I wasn't with my mother or helping out around the house, I listened to the partita in D minor. The last movement of this 5-part work, the great chaconne, lasts as long as the other 4 combined, and it became a maze in which I lost myself completely during its quarter-hour span. I returned to it again and again, obsessed with it, sometimes simply hitting the repeat button until after 4 or 5 hearings I had to force myself to quit. I listened to it on headphones while walking in the mountains near my parents' house, and in bed while trying to fall asleep. It came with me as I drove to town to pick up some new prescription or more cans of soda, which we would pour into a bowl and stir with a whisk until it was flat and easier for my mother to drink. Hearing the chaconne in the car somehow made the polyphony more intelligible. The eyes, focused on the road, kept other parts of the brain busy, freeing up consciousness to listen more deeply, to sort out individual lines from the thickness of the general texture. And the music became a filter for the physical world, almost as if someone had photoshopped out the gas stations, burrito joints, and gift shops, leaving only the passing landscape, dun-colored and dry, with leafless cottonwood trees spectral against the slate-gray skies of November. Once, when I was driving on the highway into Albuquerque, the traffic snarled and I was jolted out of the solipsism of music. I slammed on the brakes and stabbed at the buttons of the car's sound system, trying to...